What's a red flag people often ignore because it looks sweet? My daughter would be on a video chat with her boyfriend 24/7. They weren't talking to each other, they just had the video chat going even while they slept. One time, our daughter came into the living room while my wife and I were having a conversation, and of course, she had the video chat going, and she told us to be quiet while she was in there because her boyfriend was sleeping, and then showed us the feed of him sleeping, and she was just watching him. Insanity. Wait, so she couldn't figure out how to mute herself? Like, come on. Story 2. Very lush and rich compensation after they messed up in a relationship, every time without actually listening to your partner's issues. I have several friends whose partners are massive red flags and always make the same mistakes, and I always hear about the same thing almost every week. And then, a day later, everything is okay, we can make it work because he took me on a nice and fancy date, it's constant, and I'm so tired of hearing it. Oh, he spoils me. Babe, that's called love bombing because you showed signs of leaving, it's manipulation. Story 3. Children quickly becoming attached to brand new adults, wanting to be held, kissed, hugged, having no boundaries with strangers. It usually indicates that they have attachment issues and don't have any secure attachment with any adults or parental figures, and so cling on to any adult. I see people who work with kids think it's so cute when a kid comes to daycare or school or gets a babysitter and immediately wants to sit in the lap and be held and loved on by a stranger. It's not cute. It means something in that child's life has gone really wrong, and it's the adult's job to set appropriate boundaries and not allow the child to put them into that position. I met a woman who had 3 kids and had a difficult life. I brought her some supplies for a new baby and for Christmas that had been donated for her. Her oldest son, who was 3, immediately attached to me, would lean on me and sit next to me and hold my hand and get upset when I left and ask when I was coming back. It wasn't cute. It was really sad because I knew it meant that he had been put into that position of not having his mom around to rely on. I think she had been in prison for part of his life. Story 4. This one may be a slight bit unpopular or less known, but trauma dumping. I've been guilty of this myself in the past. I'm ND, neurodivergent, and I did it because I had an extremely anxious attachment style toward anyone who showed me any modicum of kindness. To some, it can come off as sweet or endearing, or that the person doing the trauma dumping trusts you really fast. In all reality, though, it's more likely either the person struggles with maintaining a secure attachment style with someone, or it's a manipulation tactic used to create a super quick bond. This is common in people, at least that I've personally noticed, with some type of narcissistic traits. Not full-on NPD, but the traits normally associated with it. Story 5. Stay with me. When they insist on paying and buying everything. Phones, clothes, food, bills, transport, etc. People think it's sweet, but I genuinely don't trust it. That's too much power to be used. My independence is everything. Don't insist, especially when we just met. Take what I allow you to pay for and be happy with it. So yes, I go Dutch on multiple dates as well. Story 6. Waiting for a teenager to turn at the legal age before making a move when you're a grown-up. You either have inappropriate tendencies or you're too lazy to try figuring out why no one your age wants you and working on yourself. Love bombing as a manipulation tactic to guilt your crush into agreeing to go out with you. If there's a genuine connection, you won't have to try. Love bombing and persistence might eventually wear them down until they agree to a date, but I promise resentment will build and things will end disastrously. Love bombing as a manipulation tactic to stop your significant other from breaking up with you. It's pathetic and your SO is not impressed. They just feel trapped, and this is why the spouse or SO of victims is the first person police investigate. It also proves you never really love them because you'd rather they stay and suffer than leave and find happiness. My first real boyfriend met me when I was not yet at the legal age. He was 25 and waited 2 years to ask me out. Like he was literally marking the days on a calendar counting down to my birthday. During those 2 years, he'd buy me stuff for no reason, like my favorite soda and snacks, a portable CD player with his Marlboro Miles. I wish I was kidding. I'd get cards with flowers when I was sick. At the time, I thought it was so sweet. I now understand that what he did is called grooming and love bombing. Story 7. Ignoring boundaries under the guise of doing something nice. When I was in college, I told my boyfriend, who was like 15 years older, a whole other red flag, that I had a big exam to study for and couldn't hang out. He showed up unannounced at my apartment with takeout for dinner. Seemed sweet, right? Well, then it became, since I'm already here, why don't I just stay the night? Again, at the time, it seemed like he just wanted to see me and spend time together, but it ended up being the tip of the iceberg of ignoring my needs for his wants. Story 8. My in-laws have this habit of asking all the children in the family weird questions like, who's your favorite uncle, aunt, cousin, etc. It always strikes me as a strange way to introduce competitiveness in an area of life that doesn't really need any. Like, it's one thing if my niece runs up to me and says, you're my favorite uncle, without any prompting, in large part because she halfway doesn't know what she's saying. But when the adults in the family are encouraging the kids to choose, it just feels unnecessarily toxic. Story 9. Someone that agrees with you too much and or copies you. This can be seen by some to be sweet because they like you so much and as harmless because it's not actively harmful. In reality, they either feel deeply insecure or are ignoring something about themselves or are afraid to be truthful. I've seen and experienced different variations of this for different reasons, but this was a prevalent red flag. Story 10. Acting overly obsessive over anyone. As someone who has had bouts of being obsessive over people, it really annoys me to see people romanticize it. It's not pretty, it isn't romantic, it's actually awful. From my experience, you feel like terrible because that person hasn't read your text or hasn't responded in the way you want them to. Them talking to other people makes you feel extremely uncomfortable. You have to learn how to manage it, and I'm glad that I have, but it's really hard, and I hate when someone romanticizes that behavior. No, it's not a cute and fun time, it's soul-crushing and it takes time to heal after. Story 11. Jealousy and controlling behavior. It's just his boundaries, he just loves me so much, he wants the best for us, I'm glad he's so focused on me. It can be a she too, but it's often a he, I'm a guy, I've just seen this more from men. Insecure and controlling, he doesn't trust you and probably himself. His boundaries are putting up boundaries for you that are not actually based in loyalty or love, just his own insecure perception of the world, probably based off of his own questionable thoughts and behaviors. Story 12. When they tell you you're friends right away after meeting you before they let you warm up to you and vice versa. Red flag, they're doing this so they can manipulate you. Either that or they're just fake as heck and they don't really want to be friends with you. They're just stringing you along and they damn well know that. I fell for this once and I will never forget it, though I've let it go. I was tormented and bullied, and they even tried to hurt me by slamming the door in my face when we were having a fight. On the first night, they claimed to be best friends. Never again. If someone says this stuff to you, run. They don't mean it. It's a manipulation tactic. Story 13. Just read a post yesterday about a woman who scammed her husband into dating her by learning everything she could about the man, her friend's brother, and then leaving out things she knew he liked when he came over to get him interested in her. Apparently, this is one of those red flags that people ignore because it looks sweet. Half the comments were people talking about how cute it was that she didn't reveal that she'd manipulated him until she gave her wedding vows. Story 14. Feigning concern when you're just being nosy. I had to drive one of my employees to the hospital for a medical emergency, which turned out to be an early pregnancy miscarriage. She told me what happened because she was comfortable telling me as her supervisor. She asked me not to tell anyone except upper management about what was going on. After specifically telling our coworkers, she asked us to respect her privacy. One lady said, I could pray more effectively if I knew what I was praying for. Religion aside, that's unacceptable, and as a Christian, God knows you don't need to. Story 15. This may be controversial, but it's a hill I will pass away on due to experience. People who are obsessed with their designer dogs that they purchase from a breeder. Most people go, oh, cute dog, but I guarantee you their egos are completely enmeshed with how it looks to have that type of dog, and that dog is and will stay more important than you. It also hints at a lack of compassion for the large number of shelter animals, like why spend thousands at a breeder when so many shelter dogs need homes? Note, this absolutely does not apply to people who need specific breeds of working/service dogs, i.e., you're a search and rescue volunteer and get a bloodhound from a breeder, or you're a kid with a medical alert purebred golden. Obviously, that's completely fine. Story 16. This probably isn't common, but like people who will make random observations, assumptions about you, and randomly say it to your face like it's a fact. Kinda comes off as being observant and honest or insecure about themselves, but gets weird and annoying really fast. Like, you didn't respond to this specific message out of the 8 I sent you, you must think X. No, I never said that, I just didn't want to reply to every word of all the bajillion things you sent me. You react to me complimenting your appearance differently than when I compliment your art. Does it make you uncomfortable? No, sorry, I don't respond to things the exact same way every single time. Sorry for being a human being who was not 100% consistent in my behavior. Story 17. I had hourly long video calls with my ex. They started due to us being friends for a long time, and when we were friends, they were exciting and fun. When we got into a relationship, at first, it was still fun, but after a while, it got stale. We would just do our own thing while sometimes glancing at each other and say something. At the end, she was like, you only want a video call to check on me if I'm not doing anything weird. While she was the one who always insisted on video calling right when I got home from a weekend with her, she came home from my place or when we were both done working. It's not sweet, it's alarming that you actually want to spend your time with someone so much. I complied because that's how we met each other and she was my first partner, but looking back on it, yeah, that flag was quite red. Story 18. I have a coworker who has been a fiancé for 4 years, and her would-be husband doesn't want to get fully married out of fear of losing his money if a divorce happens in the future. He won't sign a prenup, has private meditation sessions at home that he goes ballistic on her if she accidentally walks in on him, and when he retires in a year from now, he wants her to stay at their current home while he moves to his home state. Story 19. Dads who are too overprotective of their daughters and who are threatening to any boy or man that comes into their life. You always see pictures of dads holding guns behind their daughters as prom date pictures, or dads at weddings saying, "If you hurt her, I'll end you." That stuff isn't cute, it's creepy. Imagine you have a bright, wonderful son who meets his dream girl, then her dad proceeds to threaten your son with a gun for no good reason. Wouldn't you be angry? I understand dads are men and know how boys think and that they have to protect their children. However, you can do that in a healthy, sane way. It's all about upbringing and age-appropriate supervision. If my daughter brings someone home, I want him to like me and my family. I'd much rather my daughter's boyfriend and son like and respect me as opposed to hate me. If he's a disrespectful person, that's a different story. Green light to confront him then, but if he comes correct, why start off on a bad foot? Story 20. All the litter of kittens content on Reddit. I foster for rescue. There are so many cats that need homes already. Shelters are bursting. Rescues are full. Never enough fosters or resources. If you find a pregnant cat, you can still have her spayed and usually should. If you find kittens, you need to make sure they all get spayed and neutered and also locate mama for a spay and neuter. If you feed cats outside, they need a spay and neuter. If you want to help your community minimize this overpopulation, donate to a local group that does spay and neutering or trap, neuter, release, TNR. Kittens are so cute and we have so many. Shelters by me get hundreds every month and there are simply not enough homes. It's funny to joke about CDS, but it's not so cute in real life. Kittens get pregnant as early as 4 months old. Please spay and neuter those kitties. It's the kindest thing you can do to help all kitties. Story 21. Fathers casually threatening potential suitors and dates with a firearm. From a firearm safety standpoint, depending on the jurisdiction, this could be considered brandishing. You should only threaten people with weapons if they are actively threatening you or somebody else. As a joke, it's tiring and was maybe marginally funny to begin with. Who is the audience of this joke? The guy you're threatening? Your embarrassed daughter? Your second brain cell that finds this tired material funny? If you're trying to express your care for her and want the suitor to respect her, there are better ways. How about treating your daughter like an autonomous individual who can make their own decisions and decide who is respectful enough to date? Or just do general plan checking / curfew setting as age appropriate, like a normal human father would. Story 22. I had a friend who would literally copy everything that I did. When we went out to eat, she'd order the same thing or something similar. When we were going out, she'd want to know what I was wearing so she could wear the same thing. When someone would ask her a question, she'd look at me first before responding to see if I had any thoughts first. It was maddening. She'd also get upset if I didn't want to hang out every second of every day. Fast forward, we're now both married with kids, and from what I know, she does all these things to her husband now. If he isn't having dessert at dinner, then she isn't either. If he has a second serving at dinner, then she will too, but only if he does. She once told me that she has to ask to do certain things and that agreeing and going along with him helps keep the peace. Said she basically does whatever he says because she never wants to make him upset or angry. Anyway, glad I dodged that bullet. I rarely speak to her, and when I do, I'm very selective about what I say because she'll start copying again. It's just too much for me. It was such a stifling friendship. Story 23. When your partner gives you toxic encouragement or words of positivity. For example, I've had it happen multiple times where I was sharing a story that affected me or a worry of mine, and they would be like, "It's not a big deal, don't worry. At least you have X or Y," or even worse, when it's a worry of something that will affect both of you, but they dismiss it or don't weigh the importance of the situation, saying it will all be fine without any valid argument or consideration, leaving you alone with the worrying. I felt like they were just tossing aside my feelings and not really wanting to listen just to get it over with quickly. Sometimes just listening and not saying anything is better, or, don't show this empty positivity, and at least try to empathize a little bit with me. I really hate empty or fake positivity without a proper argument behind it on why I shouldn't be so worried or put so much importance on said topic. Story 24. People who love to give fashion advice. It starts nice and eventually builds up to them criticizing you at every opportunity. Also, people who are super outgoing. If you're outgoing, that's fine. If you're extroverted, that's fine. But if you're always loud and force me to go to outings I told you beforehand I do not want to go to, that's not sweet anymore. Additionally, people who hate little kids and pets. Not liking kids when they're loud or not wanting kids or pets is fine. But if you get annoyed when a child or a pet is mentioned at all, something is off about you. Some people find it okay that they just don't want them or even funny because it riles them up, but I find it weird. Story 25. I had a classmate in my first year of college who was sweet and nice, but she would make such a rage bait statement, and you knew, looking at her expression, that she had known what she was doing. A little bit of a superiority complex. But what can you say back when her words also seem like they were made in all innocence and is such a sweetheart? I stayed away from her after a couple of times her immature and insensitive comments wouldn't stop, especially after I told her many times her words were not okay. Story 26. Being extremely chill or just not very emotional. I had a friend like that who was a very go with the flow, don't rock the boat type. He seemed to have his stuff together at the time, always willing to help out too. In reality, he was an extreme people pleaser who didn't actually know how to deal with his emotions or conflict, so he shut down his feelings and put everyone first. When there was conflict he couldn't actually avoid, the mask came off and that emotionlessness became very, very unsettling. All of my friends who have never seen him with the mask off still think of him as the golden boy, though. Story 27. My quote-unquote best friend in high school once specifically requested for me to post a picture of us for National Best Friend Day or some similar holiday. I asked if she'd be posting a picture of us too. "No, I have a lot of best friends, but I'm your main best friend, so you should post a picture of us," was her response. The next couple of years were full of backstabbing and gaslighting, complete with occasional fallings out, until we finally stopped speaking. Looking back, I cannot believe I didn't see it coming. Story 28. Quote-unquote good vibes only friends. That mentality is fine to have with yourself, but you can't force that on others. My best friend adopted this attitude, and from then on, whenever I would come to her for support or advice on an issue I was having, she'd cut me off and say, "Ah ha ha ha, good vibes only, remember?" Because I was bringing her down. I put up with it for a long time because I thought she was right that I was burdening her, but then I finally realized that that's not how real friends act. They're supposed to support and help each other. Story 29. Friends who are good to you when one-on-one but constantly put you down in group settings. This is a big sign of insecurity and jealousy. Other signs, inappropriate attention-seeking behaviors, trying to twist the situation on you when confronted about things, not respecting your boundaries, is super friendly with new people but in a disingenuous, I want to be liked the most way. Constant gaslighting, getting mad at you for not going by the exact same moral playbook as them. When in group settings, they get really uncomfortable and try to change the subject or put you down extra if attention is on you. Acting they can take constructive feedback, but actually taking it out on you in small ways throughout the rest of the day. Story 30. Really jealous and possessive friends. I'm a jealous person by nature, and even though my jealousy flares up when I see my friends hanging out with other people, I would never let them know. Why? Because I don't want them to feel bad about doing the things they love. For example, having a social life outside my little world. If a person tries to box you up because they want you all to themselves, it's not proof of love or companionship. True love in any kind of relationship, like friends, family, lovers, is shown by respect and allowing the other person to have free will. And if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 31. This is subtle and a bit counterintuitive, but beware of the rescuer martyr. This is the person that's always rushing out to help and give everyone else their all, whether or not it's needed or whether the recipient is comfortable with it. They are good people, very well-intentioned, and seemingly saintly in their generosity with their time and energy. However, sometimes it goes to the extreme, and then it's more of a symptom of a toxic cycle, where they only get meaning and self-worth when they are saving someone, or maybe they keep swooping into other people's lives to fix things in hopes that someone will do the same for them. They may have good intentions, but they tend to not have good boundaries. They get over-involved in your life, take on way too much, and make everyone's problems their own. They end up overwhelmed, mired in drama, and resentful, and then they become the martyr. The problem with being friends with this type of person is that you're not in an equal friendship where you like each other, enjoy spending time with each other, and when there happens to be downs, you support each other through them. It's more like you're a project. Everyone's a project. And once you stop being a project, you're now supported, not just for them and their own problems, but part of the fire brigade for their other projects, which they've internalized as their own problems and drama. Story 32. A friend of mine has been making fun of me for years. She just made fun of me whenever I did or said anything, even if I was serious. I didn't realize how much it's affected my self-esteem until I actually got really angry at her for something else and no longer considered her a friend. Also, she's mentally unstable. Now, that's okay, and as her friends, we want to help her with that, but she's not giving us a chance to do so. She just flips out and expects everyone to adapt to her. The real problem is that she hasn't changed. The same stuff's been happening for years, and she's apparently not trying to work on herself in that regard, still expecting us to just accept whatever nonsense she throws at us, so I'm done with her. Story 33. If anything y'all do together is always steered towards what they want to do, it's easy to miss initially when you're getting to know their likes and interests. But once you know them, it becomes clear they're just using you as some kind of emotional, physical accessory. I had a friend like this for a while. We always did what he wanted, and he just wasn't always that interested in what I liked or enjoyed. Just sort of would rope me into whatever he wanted to do. I progressively got to the point where I felt like I was being used. After a while, he pressured me into sleeping over at his place. I obliged as we'd been drinking and I didn't feel great about driving home. He took my keys and said something to the effect of, "You'll get these back in the morning." He wanted me to sleep in his room with him and share a bed, which I've done before with many other guy friends, so it wasn't abnormal. However, it was the way he sort of said, "No, you're sleeping in my room," when I was laying on the couch that made me uncomfortable. When we were in bed, he asked if I wanted to cuddle. I politely declined, but it also clicked for me then that I was only there to fill a need for him. If it had been one of my other close guy friends who reciprocated my interests and needs, I may have been comfortable with that. But I realized he wasn't interested in me, for me, only in what I could provide him, i.e. emotional or physical attention. To be honest, I don't think it would have progressed beyond cuddling. I was in a relationship though, so I didn't want to cross that line. But it was the way he pressured me into the whole ordeal that made me feel used and uncomfortable. I left early the next morning and kept my distance from him after that. Took me a while to work up the courage to tell my girlfriend about it because I felt stupid for being in that position and just generally feeling used. Moral of the story, respect yourself enough to watch out for your own interests and needs. Just because you want to be a friend to someone doesn't mean you have to be and doesn't mean it's the best thing for you. Story 34. Hey guys, not a red flag, but a reminder to be that excellent friend to your buddies. Tell them you love them when you're done talking. Love is an important part of friendship. I tell all my friends I love them, guys and girls. They are the family I chose to have, so I choose to let them know what they mean to me. Text or call them whenever you think of them. Anything is better than nothing, and chances are they've been thinking of you too. Root for them in their personal and work lives. You want to see your friends and their families happy and successful, right? Tell them they deserve the promotion or help them get hyped up about their new project. Be honest with them when you need help and when they ask you for it, but even more importantly, be there for them. Remind them of their goals and help them find new things to reach for, like a house, a car, a savings plan for their future children. Talk about your lives in meaningful ways. My best friend and I have known each other since kindergarten. Now we're both 26, and I'm incredibly grateful for his friendship and companionship over all these years. Help your friends, love them, be kind to them, challenge them, introduce them to new things, and don't give up on them. Story 35. Liars. They lie about everything and anything, big or small. Catch them out? Well, that's not what they saw. Oh well, let's change the subject. One-uppers. Barely had any sleep? Well, they only got to bed at midnight and woke up at 2. Your rabbit passed away? Well, their dad's fish passed away 2 years ago. They're still grieving. Want to bet and earn $20? They won $50 and a new phone. They always have it worse or better than you. Everything's about them or their stories, only they can't talk. They interrupt your stories or whatever you're saying and then tell their story. Story 36. Not making enough time for you, whether it is that you are always the one to begin conversations and make plans, the other person having plenty of free time, but not for you, cutting visits short because they have to be elsewhere, or my personal favorite, inviting others to stuff you plan to do together. And all of that shows that they don't respect you and the friendship as much as they should. Relationships are a two-way street, and given that we are a couple billion people, you better put in some effort before I drop you for someone better. Story 37. Being the butt of every single joke in the group. At first, it seems like it's only for fun and you can play along, but then you notice it gets repetitive, then it starts to wear away at you and you always feel worse after being around said quote-unquote friends. Then you notice, by chance, that these friends keep making jokes about you, and in a mean-spirited way because you're not there to say otherwise, and you finally figure out that they're just shoddy people and not worth talking to. In short, straight up insulting you with no regard for your feelings. Sorry if this seemed a little emotionally charged, just my experience. Story 38. This probably isn't something most people would brush off, but my friend group, myself included, seem to not take this kind of behavior as an indicator of a selfish person and a bad friend. Doing things or buying things for you and later using it as leverage against you down the line. I remember being in high school and a friend of mine kept pestering me about getting a new video game. I knew I couldn't afford it and had accepted that I just wouldn't play it. This guy offered to buy me a copy so we could all play together. I turned it down, saying that I would purchase it when I could afford it. He bought it anyway and gave it to me and used that small power over me to try and guilt me into doing random things for him and just tried to generally make me feel inadequate for not being able to afford it myself. I didn't want him to get it for me in the first place. Story 39. Friends who are constantly trying to get people to feel sorry for them. They'll constantly complain about what a terrible life they have or say just how sad they are. When you try to bring up your own problems, they ignore you and make it about them or one-up your problems with their own. They make you feel like you shouldn't talk about your problems since they have it so rough, and then when you try to help them, they refuse to take advice. If you decide to keep yourself healthy by focusing on your problems a bit more so you can solve them, they make you feel guilty and selfish for not helping them instead of respecting your decision. Story 40. I had a friend once who made fun of nearly everything I liked or did. I'd introduce her to my other friends or significant other, and she'd immediately find everything wrong with them. I'd listen to a certain type of music before going out to get pumped up, who doesn't, and she'd say I look stupid. I'd tell her about a long-term goal, she'd tell me it's unrealistic. And so on with hobbies, movies, etc. It was simply annoying at first, but then I started to doubt what I was interested in, and that's when I realized I had to end the friendship. Story 41. When they were unwilling to take part in friendship maintenance, and by that I mean they always have an excuse as to why they can't do something that involves putting in a bit of effort for others. Their turn to be the driver? Oh, they can't possibly do that because they drive all week to work already. Want to hang out somewhere new? Only if it's close to their house so that they don't have to go out of the way when they want to leave. Not having fun at the spot everyone chose to go to? Complain until people decide it's not worth the noise and then leave. Someone who delights in speaking down or just being plain old nasty to others in a group in order to seem like the smartest person in the room. It's sad and pathetic, and when you cut someone like that off, it really clears that head fog that you've been in while you're around that person and allows you to see them for who they really are. Selfish, entitled, spoiled kids. Story 42. I had a few poor friends when I was younger. I was very shy and ready to help the whole world. Allow me to introduce the attention-seeking one who would keep you awake every night with alarming threats and disappear from the chat you were both talking in. You call and message him everywhere 20 times. You just worry in front of your computer. He comes back all smug. Ha ha ha, calm your nerves. I was outside smoking a cigarette. Male friends in before, not all men, that touch you constantly or try to tickle you when you state explicitly several times that you don't like it and want them to stop. They then tell you you have no sense of humor. They are generally the kind of guy that would try to take advantage of you if you're too intoxicated. The female friend that tells you that you'd look better with surgery. It's just a fact. Also, all the guys are hitting on her. Yes, even your crush, everyone, because she said so. The friend that always has drama in her life, never listens to good advice, and then tries to remove the good things from your life because your attention should be on her. She will block you when your life becomes nicer and will come back when she needs something or to tell you how she has it good. Story 43. When you feel like you can't be honest about who you really are as a person because they would think you're annoying or lame or embarrassing. Real friends see you being hilariously obnoxious and stupid with your true sense of humor and your actual interest, and they hype you up. They join the fun, not tear you down and try to shame you out of your interests. Be weird, enjoy that annoying band everyone hates, dress in what you like. Don't stifle your passions for the approval of people who wouldn't like the real you. It's not worth it. My friend circle in high school had a bunch of art and photography dorks. We didn't dress cool. We liked cringe-worthy bands. One of us wore vintage clothing from thrift stores. Half of our group was openly gay. I was one of the only people who liked anime. Sure, we were outcasts, and we had a great time. Story 44. Whenever he or she has a problem with you, instead of talking with you directly about it, he or she tells your friends, then disappears to who knows where or acts aloof. Then your friends have to tell you what you're doing wrong while you're sat there wondering, okay, what the heck's wrong with my friend? Why are they acting this way? I ended up leaving a pretty large friend group just for that reason because my ex, I guess, knew the friend group I was a part of before me, during either middle or elementary school or some nonsense. After they all reunited, they kind of helped set us up. Then it fell apart because of a severe lack of proper communication to fix anything. I'm glad I moved on from them. Story 45. They don't look out for your best interests at all. This whole story is going to sound really vain, but I once had this friend in college and I was so blown away. She was almost exactly like me, sense of humor-wise. She was so funny and so willing to just do whatever to get a laugh. She had amazing energy and I loved her. She was awesome. We could talk about our lives and I was never embarrassed about the things I told her and I could just be myself. About a year in, she ended things with her kinda shoddy boyfriend and this is where things got weird. She would have me come over and just start trying to invite guys over while we were drinking and chilling and kind of imply she wanted to have a triad. I had a boyfriend and was in a committed relationship, so I always declined, but she would also get into fights with her ex, and she would encourage him to try to connect with me. All of this was super weird, but she would just play it off by saying things because she was mad or inviting people over because she was intoxicated. The last time I ever hung out with her was when we were at a bar and she started telling guys we would kiss if they bought us drinks. I had enough at that point. She was into me, I guess, but genuinely she ruined our entire friendship because she wanted me as an object and not as a friend, and it hurt worse than any other guy doing this to me. Story 46. Had a friend who we would get into arguments together about stupid things. The thing is, I am the type of person who doesn't engage in arguments I don't know anything about, so when I would argue, I would usually end up being right, as I would only argue if I knew much on the subject. We got in an argument, he got so upset at the end that he didn't want to talk anymore. Eventually, I messaged him and apologized for everything, took all the blame, because I thought it was dumb to not be friends over a stupid argument. He did not apologize for his part in it, but we went back to being friends. A year or so later, we get into another argument, this time a much more stupid subject, which basically I just pointed out things he said as being inaccurate with evidence to back up my statements. He started getting angry and attacking me personally, so I fired back since he brought it to that level, and once again, he doesn't want to talk. This time I realized he will never change. He never tried to apologize or take responsibility for the way he acted, and neither did he care. I did not go back to apologize this time. Story 47. I was blind to how hostile they were against other friends of mine. In this case, I'll call them Charlie. Charlie was very sweet and loved to chat at first, but then that sweet demeanor deteriorated over time. I was their only best friend at the time. They would only talk to me if something was wrong, and I'm pretty sure they're out there talking about me and how I am a terrible friend, that I failed to do what I said I would do, and that we don't talk as much now. I genuinely tried to change myself to help them, and when I tried to cheer them up like a best friend would, when their buddies are down, they brushed it off as didn't work. But then here's a few details I left out. They lost their father, have a mother who was semi-not caring, 2 younger siblings they have to care for, and constant bullying at school. I genuinely meant no harm to them, and I tried helping them in every way possible. We do not talk anymore, but they haven't been cut off entirely, as I do not think they will ever talk to me again. I still think about them every now and then, and the times my in-real-life friends, whom I love very dearly because they're dorks like I am, have tried to talk and be friendly with them, but they, Charlie, would always spit a hostile response and complain to me about how my friends were all stupid. I was hurt by this, but brushed it off as Charlie might have had a bad day and they were angry, but taking out anger on my friends seemed odd to me. I know their future will be brighter for them despite them telling me I know nothing about their future and they will never find love. Forgive me, this is long, but I hope I'm not in the wrong here, and if I am, can I get some tips on doing better? I can always use the constructive criticism. Story 48. Being in constant competition with you, but you can't figure out the reason? They don't want to be your friend, they want to be you. Take your life in ways or pieces of it. For example, I had a friend always trying to out-gentleman me while I was with my girlfriend, now wife, and after so many years of it, I finally took the blinders off and realized he just wanted my girlfriend. He didn't care one bit about me in earnest. He was also asked a favor but never returned one guy too, but I'm a far too forgiving person and dealt with more stuff back then than most. Not anymore though. Life lesson learned. Story 49. I had a friend a few years ago who seemed really nice. At first, we clicked instantly and she was dating my roommate, so we spent a lot of time together. The first red flag was when she started buying me random gifts. These were expensive gifts, mainly Sephora hauls, but also randomly bought me decorations and clothes as well. Turns out she lied to her dad about being enrolled in school and was using all the tuition money he sent on online shopping sprees and buying my friendship. The second red flag was that she would get jealous when I went to hang out with my boyfriend or any of my other friends. It's like she wanted me to herself and got annoyed if I spent time with anyone other than her. The third red flag was when she went into my room when I was out of town one weekend and cleaned the entire thing. It was a mess since I had been packing and didn't have time to clean before leaving. She organized everything, did my laundry, which was extremely weird, dusted, vacuumed, made my bed, etc. I didn't know she did this until I got home and walked into my room. At first, I thought it was nice, but then instantly realized she had gone through all of my stuff, washed and folded my dirty clothes. It was just weird. So yeah, any friend that instantly latches on you like that is a huge red flag. Story 50. For long-term friends, when the conversation repeatedly runs dry quickly. Yes, long-term friends stick around for obvious reasons, but if you find you just aren't getting along well or just have nothing to really talk about or enjoy together, then it's a red flag. It may be a sign that you just need to try new things together or change things up, but it may also be a sign that you just no longer have that same friendship you once did. It's a tough thing and it's hard to decide how to approach it, but as you get older, free time gets more precious, so don't waste it with people you can't enjoy yourself with, even if you used to have that with them. Story 51. I had a best friend of 7 years that I went through a really rough period with when we started growing apart, but now I can see that it was probably for the best. They started only talking to me when they had a problem and gave little care to other conversations and took no interest in my life. I didn't mind helping them because we were very close and there was a lot of trust, but it was difficult when my only purpose was eventually that of a therapist. They would criticize any new friends I made, but were constantly leaving me for their new friends and significant others, only ever talked about their SO, always on their phone when we did hang out, and started making fun of me a lot. Even after I confronted them, it continued, and I have no idea why I went along with it for so long, to be honest. And if any of these stories got to you too, here's more for you. YouTube thinks we're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.